And this is a day where you got an early present because that's a nice guy to be able to pencil into the lineup.
It's a great. When Sandy called me the other day and told me he got the deal done, Mike, I said this might be the best early Christmas present I've ever had. This is a big piece to our puzzle here, and I think he's going to be a great player in our lineup. He's certainly going to protect David, but you know him, Mike. His personality is a perfect blend for us.
Yeah, good. And listen, he's first of all, he's an outstanding guy. Number one. Number two, he's already proven he can handle New York, and he handles it well. And he's got a power bat. He's got a very big extra base bat and still has a good pair of legs. Now, your plan right now, is it to play him in right field? Skip, is that what you're looking to do?
Right now, Mike, that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll have to make adjustments as we see what happens here with the rest of the winter. But I know that Chris Young and Curtis Granderson are in that outfield, and I think they bring us. Both guys bring us. They're very, very athletic, as you said. They can run. He's a good defender. But I think we've got two good power bats in the middle of our lineup that's we got to produce some runs for us.
Everyone talks about the 2 years and the injuries were flukes. They were both injuries because he got hit by a pitch. They were weird injuries. So he's not injury prone, and he's hit 40-plus homers. Now, he was helped a little bit by Yankee Stadium, but if you look, two things. Number one, he hit 30 homers in Detroit, which is a big park, and number two, he hit 46% of his homers on the road. So he can hit anywhere. He's got a lot of power.
He's got a lot of power, Mike, and that's exactly, when we talked about this, I've had a lot of people say, well, he's going to play in Citi Field. It's not Yankee Stadium. It's not Yankee Stadium. But you know what? When Curtis Granderson hits homers, they go out of any.
No, they're long home runs, and he gets a lot of doubles and triples too. He'll get a lot of triples in your park.
That's a perfect part for him. Jose Reyes proved it. If you hit something in the gap, it's a triple.
Yeah, and he gets a lot of triples and he scores a lot of runs. Listen, I think it's a superb signing from the Mets. When you look at Young and Grandy, is your plan now to give Lagares, is it Lagares Dendecker right now without getting another outfielder? Would that be your center field combination?
Well, I'm not, Mike, again, I don't know what's going to happen. You mentioned Eric Young's name. If we, right now, with the way the lineup shapes up, or the way the team shapes up, does Eric Young help us off the bench, or does he help us play in left field?
Right.
Because he did a tremendous job last year. And if he gets on at a better, at a good rate, with you got Murphy, David, Grandy, you've got Chris Young coming up, all those guys behind you, we should be able to score some runs.
I'm figuring Chris Young's your left fielder, and Eric Young's got to be your kind of jack of all trades, right?
Well, that's what you're hoping for. He's going to be, to me, he reminds me of Tony Phillips, that guy who can play any place you play him. He gets on base and creates runs for you.
Yeah, so I figure if you're figuring putting Chris Young and hope he has a year where he bounces back and he has some power in left, you have Grandy in right, and I guess you give Lagares a chance to see if he can be the guy in center field, right, along with Dendecker, right?
I think you're right. I think he's the guy. And with what we saw last year out of him defensively, he showed that he's as good a defender as is in the entire league. So, and he works hard at his offense. And if he can, hit 260, 265, and play the defense we know he's capable of playing, we're going to be pretty good in the outfield.
I don't want to get you to start speculating about other positions because it's not fair right now because the Mets are still at work here. They may make a couple of trades. They may trade off an Ike or a Duda. They may trade off a Murphy. You still might get another shortstop. So it's still pretty much a work in progress. But how do you feel about the positions you do know right now in the lineup? Your catcher, what do you expect out of Dano this year? What's reasonable from him this year?
Well, Mike, I think one of the things by bringing Travis up last year, you got a good dose of what it's going to take to be a major league player. I was very impressed with the way he handled the pitching staff, the way he prepared himself, and everybody has said this guy's going to hit. He didn't hit last year, but I think he now realizes what he's got to do to be an offensive player in the big leagues, and I'm excited to see what he does in spring training. He's got to make a couple of adjustments at the plate, but you know what? Good hitters do that, and this guy, everybody says, is a good hitter.
And obviously, you have Denote, you have Wright, you have Granderson, you have Young, and you have Eric Young as your jack of all trades. What's reasonable for Lagares this year? I mean, what did you see from him? What would you expect from him going forward?
Well, I tell you, Mike, one of the things that Juan Lagares, when he first got here, he'd come from AAA, he had huge numbers in AAA, got off to a decent start. Then all of a sudden he realized, they knew how to pitch him, and he had to make adjustments, and he works very, very hard at it. Again, I think he's a guy that if he concerns himself about just trying to make contact, put the ball in play, because he's got a great set of legs, I think he's going to be a decent offensive player. Now, is he going to hit 300? I'm not sure he's ready to do that, but he's got some power, and when he hits the ball the opposite way more often, he comes up with some big hits. But I think Juan Lagares wants to be a good player, and that's an easy start when he shows up in spring training. Those guys are easy to coach.
Talking about with Terry Collins, Harvey, obviously you have to wait another year for, but the Met pitching it's got some promise. I don't know what happens with Syndergaard and Montero. Maybe let me ask you this: as you start spring training, what's your thoughts about Syndergaard and Montero? Where are they in their development?
Well, certainly, Mike, what we hope to do before we get to spring training is come up with those two other starting pitchers so that we can let those kids maybe start in AAA, get their feet underneath them and then bring them up as the season goes along. But you know what? Worst case scenario, if we can't come up with the right guys, we know we've got two outstanding young pitchers that I think my pitching coach does a great job of preparing pitchers. And, we saw it in Matt Harvey. We've seen it in Zach Wheeler. This guy can get them ready. And if their stuff is as good as people tell me it is, they can pitch at that level right now.
All right. So you think Syndergaard and Montero, is it possible either one could break camp with you this year?
It's possible that one of them could. There's no question that we've got to rely on that. We've been talking about those young pitchers and that young talent that we got coming down the road. And if we need them, if in worst case scenario, that we can't come up with a fifth starter, there's no reason why one of those guys couldn't be on our staff.